Welcome to Divisive Issues, a foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where we talk about comics and sometimes TV shows like this time. I'm Sly.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
I should also clarify, when I said sometimes TV shows, I mean this is our first time covering a TV show, and we're setting up the rules for covering a TV show in this very episode.
Oh, it is the first.
Yeah.
Wait,
We have to clarify, we're going to do the first two episodes of this show because we're not going to go to the whole entire fucking show. Fuck.
But what if it's only 30 minutes?
It's not.
Then 4 episodes, maybe.
So, okay, you must be thinking, ooh, what important comic book TV shows are there? Is it Daredevil, the groundbreaking, gritty show?
It's not that.
Is it The Flash, the campy but popular CW show?
We're never doing that.
It's the greatest comic book show of all time, Inhumans.
The greatest comic book show to premiere on IMAX, so, aka the only one.
Okay, I would like to say this is the most faithful comic book adaptation I have ever seen.
I disagree.
In that they absolutely nailed how unbearably terrible the
I'll agree
Inhumans
with that.
as
I'll agree with
characters.
that. But I will disagree that, but we'll get into that.
Sly, who are the Inhumans?
All right, so Inhumans
I like
are...
X-Men. Are they like X-Men?
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit in previous episodes, but Marvel doesn't have the rights to X-Men anymore.
We specifically talked about it in the Death of Cyclops episode, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And because they don't have the right to X-Men, they haven't...
In film and stuff. They have the rights to the comics.
Yeah, they do. They have, but because they don't have the rights to film, they don't want to have them in the comics either. Because having them in the comics, if they create a character, a new X-Man, like this new X-Man becomes a new smash hit. Like if they create a new Wolverine, now
Wait,
Fox
are you talking about the hit 90s character X-Man?
I love that name.
which literally is a character called X-Man. But if they make a new smash hit character.
When I drew comics when I was a kid, my character's name was A-Man.
Amen.
Because I was like, A is the first letter in the alphabet.
Did you write that along with X-Graves?
Yes, that was around the same time, yeah.
Inhumans have been around for a long time, but now they've been kind of been shoehorning them into a role they're not meant to be. They were created as basically bad
characters that are boring
characters.
and stupid.
No, but they're it's interesting because I don't think the Inhumans are bad in the sense that they're not potentially interesting. They're bad in that they're bad protagonists and bad they're foils for other characters to work off of because they're like their own secret society of superpowered people that have their own culture and they clash with humanity because they're both humans are racist against each other.
Something that was kind of interesting about like X-Men is that they represented minorities.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
there were people that were being discriminated against, and they had to find a way to band together and survive against like big government in America. Whereas Inhumans are like they're kind of on an equal footing since they're their own like nation state.
They're on more than equal footing. They have superpowers. Like there's a society of like superpowered people on,
and because
on
of
the fucking moon.
Yeah, and because of people people like in the comics, at least I don't know if they show if this is canon, but because they have like really smart inventors like Maximus, they have technology that humanity never even touched. So they're kind of like a legendary city in Marvel lore. They're kind of like comparable to like, but they're their own slaves. So like, they're very like backwards, monarchy society. So they're kind of, but they have all this power. So they're this force in the world that everyone really hates, and they don't know if they can trust.
Also, what makes it less interesting than X-Men too is, for me at least, when I was thinking about like when I was younger, thinking about X-Men as like a potential evolutionary possibility. Like, not obviously, I don't think people are going to start shooting lasers out of their eyes, but the idea that people can mutate and all the new technology and radiation that have been since like the invention of the atomic bomb, like what if that did trigger some kind of mutations in the human DNA and then it's a believable thing for me. Whereas in humans, instead of that, because they couldn't do that again, they're like, oh, this gas flies around, and if you breathe in the gas, sometimes you go into a cocoon and turn it.
If you happen to have dormant alien DNA,
it's just so dumb.
Even in that respect, I would still defend it in that if you're going to make a giant like weird space opera thing, that's what Inhumans is like made for. Because all the powers
turning them into cocoons is so on the nose, though. But they're emerging in their like final stage.
Yeah, the Inhumans have all weird powers.
like in this episode, they literally have somebody emerge as a butterfly.
Like there's Inhumans that like can hear when the word is spoken on Earth. There's like a dog Inhuman that can teleport. Like Inhumans are weird out there concept. They're a very complicated concept. If you embrace that concept and make like a big like Guardians of the Galaxies type thing, it could work. But if you're trying to make like a X-Men ripoff,
it's all politics. But politics don't work when you literally have someone who, if he ever speaks, kills everyone.
Or it's that the main characters are part of the upper echelon of the caste system, which automatically makes you suspect to them. Like, the X-Men are great because they're part of like a school, and it's like, oh, this is cool. It's about like learning, that's emphasized through that system. Whereas like this is like, I don't know who I'm supposed to be rooting for.
Yeah,
in this
I felt that way in this.
That's why I think they work out better as a foil, because they're better when like the Fantastic Four or Silver Surfer or even X-Men run into them and they're like, your culture is weird, your people are weird, like what the fuck. But when you're trying to make them into heroes, they're defending themselves with their slaves and their caste society. Like there's
a Silver Surfer issue where he's like trying to, throughout this whole book, he's trying to like learn about human society, and he goes to the Inhumans and he's like, I want to learn about your society, and they're like, oh, someone must be attacking us because we're so foreign, like they're just so detached from society that when anyone shows up they assume they're invading, and they basically just like beat the shit out of Silver Surfer. And it's an interesting dynamic because he's like one of the only people that can get into their city, so when he shows up just like on a peacekeeping mission they assume it's aggressive, but like you're not supposed to feel for the Inhumans. They're the villains of the story.
They're foil for other Marvel characters to interact with, like I don't know what to compare them to, but like Guardians of the Galaxy, when you see like the Collector or other figures like that, they're not. If you make a movie about the Collector, it'd be fucking boring because the guy collects shit. But he's interesting because
guys, this is a TV show podcast, not a comic book podcast.
Okay, so let's talk about this bad show.
I'll start off. Well, actually, sure, whatever. I actually didn't hate this that much, so I'm gonna talk about it.
Okay.
Oh my god, I hate you.
So the show begins with some girl running through a forest they set up that it's in Oahu in Hawaii.
This whole show feels like an excuse for them to be in Hawaii and take a Hawaii vacation, by the way.
Yes, I felt that way sometimes too. Like there's just random surfer dudes, like whatever, we'll get to that. So this Inhuman girl is running through the woods being chased by three guys with guns. Just all the action scenes in the show are actually like awful.
They're terrible.
There's like slowdown of her like stepping in a puddle.
Yeah, or pushing people.
We should mention that this is the same show. I forget his fucking name. Same
Scott
show
Buck.
that did Iron Fist. Because
the showrunner
Scott Buck.
Yeah, he did do Dexter, which was a good show. But what happened?
But I mean, that spiraled down at the end.
And Dexter's not an action show either.
Yeah, that's Iron Fist has shitty actions too. But I bring that up because one of the reasons why the show is so much ass is because
so much ass doesn't sound like a bad thing.
So much ass. But
Smelly
basically,
ass.
what happened was this show was super rushed because basically IMAX funded like the first 2 episodes or some shit like that, and they're going to use it as a premiere for like an IMAX premiere, like a showcase and IMAX special event kind of shit. But
it looked bad on TV.
Yeah,
it looked
I can't imagine
awful in IMAX.
But what happened was because it was such the show was always in this weird place, because first it was supposed to be a movie, then they started teasing Inhumans in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. Then they started arguing where's it going to appear in. And
didn't Kevin Feige say like, I will never make an Inhumans movie? You cannot make me do this.
Be a very smart decision. But basically the show ended up now, because they had the IMAX schedule, they had to release it in September because that was the only schedule they had available for like the next year or so. So this movie had to be out this year at this time, and they finally got the decision settled up. So they basically gave it to this showrunner, because Iron Fist was in the same boat where they did not give a shit about its property. They just did it to finish the slop, because they needed Iron Fist to finish out the Defenders schedule. And they normally gave a shit about Iron Fist, so they got this showrunner to half-ass it. And same thing happened with Inhumans. This guy is the guy to finish half-assed shows the network does not give a shit about.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so this opening scene, which is, as most of you realize, sets the tone for the whole thing. Like, the opening really should be what grabs you. Is actually really a boring,
very
slow-mo
generic.
running through.
I actually want to point out, Joe. I haven't fact-checked this, but Joe told me, because I watched it with him, that this scene was added. It was supposed to start with the next scene, but test audiences were like, what the fuck is this show about? I don't understand. So they added this scene with just like exposition dump.
Yeah, I want to point out that this show does a terrible job of saying who the Inhumans are. I have prior experience with them, and even I was confused about some things because they talk about like they're genetic overlords or something, or like the committee. I'm like, who is that? There's not one sentence where like these guys determine like this about it. It's just like it's take it for granted that this is part of the universe that you were supposed to know. Which for TV shows,
that's not really why the Inhumans work better as a foil. This is kind of like the Star Wars prequels versus the original trilogy. Basically. In the prequels, you follow Anakin and Ben in episodes 2 and 3, and they know all the rules about Jedi. They know that you're not, but the audience finds it out later. Like the main characters all know this shit, and we figure out whenever the plot seems convenient.
Well, one of the things is you need a character in there that acts as like a surrogate
audience
for the viewer.
surrogate, yeah.
You need Luke Skywalker, who's just like, what's all this Jedi shit? What are the Jedi? You have to have them asking these questions because the audience is asking these questions.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they do here. This girl's running through the woods, and she doesn't know what's going on. She has cat eyes or snake eyes or something, and you're like, oh, she's weird. And then some green man shows up, and he's like, let me tell you what you are.
Yeah.
So okay, this is Triton, and he doesn't matter in the show at all. He's supposed to be like an underwater fish guy, but he fucking belly flops into the water in 30 seconds.
Well, he was shot.
But
Yeah.
he looks like they just put like. I don't know. He looks almost like a kid's Halloween costume.
No, he's a low-budget Green Goblin. It's like someone's like, oh, I did the makeup for like a Spider-Man TV show. I can do this.
Yeah, and he's like, you're an Inhuman. And they're getting shot at, and he's like, you have alien DNA.
No, not just that. He says, as they're being shot at, because somehow he doesn't hear the gunshot, he goes, you're safe now, don't worry.
Yeah, he does.
I assumed that must mean that the Inhumans are here to save her, but then the gunshots start, and he's like, oh my god, like, we have to run. It's like, what the fuck?
Or at the very least, he has power that can save them. When his power is, they can swim really fast and breathe in the water.
Yeah, why'd they send this guy?
I was shocked by this scene because it like sets up the fact that he didn't hear any of the gunfire. He rushes to her and he had no plan like to escape. He's just like,
Wait, hold on. Why do you send the guy that can swim well? Why do you teleport him onto land?
Yeah, and also how does he survive on the moon? By the way, but when they have no water, they say they have no water on the moon. But anyway,
No, they say they have no rivers. There's pools all over the fucking place for people to die into, but that's besides the point.
But
So Triton is just like, he just dumps like, you're an Inhuman. You have special powers. The humans hate us. This
And
is
they
the
get
best
shot.
time to tell you this.
and then the shooting starts again. He's like, oh fuck, I didn't realize. I guess we have to run. They start running. They have literally not even like a plan of a route of escape. So they get shot, obviously. So the girl dies. Triton gets shot, and is like, my only escape is to get into the water. Falls into the water.
and never shows up for next episodes. But I want to bring up real quick that it's funny because they do so many cheap cost cutting measures. We'll talk about later. But one thing in the comics, when Triton first appeared, he looked like the Grim Reaper because he actually wore like a special suit that let him breathe, that basically pumped water through him, so you never saw his face. So they took the one character who you could that had his face obscure when he first appeared, that you could conceivably obscure his face, but instead you show him his first scene, show him his face, and show that terrible makeup instead of covering it up with a cloaked costume.
Suits are expensive.
More expensive than
No,
5-hour
not
makeup.
really.
It took this guy 5 hours to put on his makeup, and it looks
Yeah,
terrible.
no, and it looks like shit. So
it really looks so bad.
we get to some other random people who are like fucking. That's it. And you're like, if you know the Inhumans, you're like, the one with the long hair must be Medusa. The other guy, I guess, it was Black Bolt by process of elimination.
But this is what looks terrible, by the way.
This was supposed to be the first scene of the show, and we're supposed to, like, these are our main characters, and she says, do you remember what it's like to not be the king and queen? And he shakes his head no, and she says, me neither. Like, oh yeah, these are the characters that I'm rooting for.
It's tough. It's tough because I think a lot of old fantasy and sci-fi and stuff does this, where you often do go along the side of the royals. Like Lord of the Rings, they're not. You're meeting with the high class people. All of Song of Ice and Fire, every main character is a royal.
Yeah, but you have Frodo, you have these audience surrogates that you're like, like Aragorn is awesome, but like, at the beginning you root for the hobbitses.
Yes, and I think that's what they're missing here is like the main character is supposed to be someone like Black Bolt, and he's one of the least relatable characters, partially because he never has a line of dialogue. So
No,
like,
he does what? He says, why? But we'll get to that later.
okay, so opening credits where it's Inhumans, and then
Oh,
it
we also
starts
mentioned
out-
opening credits are incredibly
fuck.
ugly. They have it looks like 2000s era Flash animation.
We're never gonna get through this. So.
I have to mention it shows fucking a fucking dog teleporting. It looks like I could make it in like 5 minutes in Flash. It looks terrible.
So the first scene after the credits is a lunar rover that looks like the one we have on Mars now, like Curiosity. It's just bumping into like air, and we had just seen that because they exposition dump us that we are on the king and queen are like, we are in Adelan, the city on the moon that humans will never find, and so they're on a cloaked city on the moon. So this rover immediately, as the show starts, is bumping into this city on the moon, and some guy just steps on it with a hoof. And we find out that
It's so weird. One of the craziest things to me was like the disconnect between the fact that they have a giant city that lives on the moon that's invisible, but they don't have anything to set up or like, blur electronics or like scramble their interfaces, that they just have a rover driving up and a man has to walk up and step on it.
especially because to get to the moon, they had to have seen like an orbiting object landing on the planet. Like, it's not like they could have been done like secretly.
Yeah.
So he steps on it.
He steps
and
on the camera.
We find this guy who has hoof legs named Gorgon, which a weird name. Gorgon, Medusa is a Gorgon in mythology, right? Like,
Hey, that's
Yeah,
Stanley.
he's
What are you
like a
gonna do?
satyr.
yeah, I don't know why he's named that.
Well, comics have a guy named Sauron who is a fucking pterodactyl, so they don't really describe their references.
That's
like,
true.
In most logical places.
It's because of comics.
Okay. So then we go back to Earth, and it's like a lunar base. Which again, the low budget scene here is it's crazy that you guys mentioned low budget, because this is supposed to be like NASA doing this, but they're in an empty warehouse with 6 people.
Yeah, it's literally empty.
I'm like, wait, like you could have obscured this by just showing like certain camera angles, but they really show you these guys are in an empty warehouse. Like,
Yeah, they really do.
there's no funding for this project apparently. To go to the fucking moon. So
Okay, but the way it cuts to this is they're like, no one. They're like, they saw your hoof, and Gorgon's like, no, they didn't. It'll be fine. No one can tell it's a hoof. And it cuts to a woman being like, is that a fucking hoof?
So yeah, her first thought is this
Cuts
is a
away after, as soon as she says that, like it's just like like a Family Guy in joke.
That's another thing about setting the tone is like they have these weird like comic booky moments. Like I would expect that in a comic, honestly, where it's just like, is that a hoof?
Oh yeah, because you can
And-
do it with just like one panel.
Yeah, but then like this show is gonna have people getting shanked to death. Like it's not.
Really?
It's not. It doesn't fit the tone. Like the tone is all over the place. So of course, the first thought she has is this must be a hoof on the moon.
And their boss is like, oh yeah, in this world where the fucking Avengers movie happened. Oh, that's so stupid. You're dumb. Fuck you.
That's I know I've complained to Sly about this before, but I have a problem with every Marvel like IP being in the same universe when I'm watching them. Because
But most in like Daredevil, they say strange things have happened. Like you're saying this is crazy, but remember, aliens landed here. Here, they say no, that's stupid. A fucking hoof on the moon. Like most.
but not just the hoof thing, but like later, whenever these guys interact, they're like, "We're taking you off the team." Do you really think aliens could be on the moon? It's like, are you serious? There was an alien invasion. Yeah. like they like, oh, let me just call up Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, and be like, hey, last time you fought like the fucking gods of death or whatever? Like, do you think aliens could be on the moon? Like, I was shocked. I was honestly shocked by this.
Shocked and appalled. So here's where we meet the royal family. Very quickly, we have Black Bolt, who doesn't fucking talk and is just very boring. You have Medusa.
I actually like Black Bolt.
Yeah, I
His
like
actor,
Black Bolt too.
His actor
No.
makes it work because his actor's very expressive faces.
He's
I
fucking
think he's
like
one of the better actors in the show.
yeah.
So we also have.
Okay, Phil.
I came into this being like, I think I probably like this the most out of all of us. And then the more we're talking about it, I'm like, this show is sucked.
So we
He
have
does
Gorgon
suck,
the
yeah.
Hoof Guy, who collects fucking lunar rovers.
He makes jokes.
We have.
And he's
He's a fucking head
the
of security.
expert.
He's the
Yeah.
only likable guy in my.
He's the head of the
opinion.
Royal Guard.
Yeah. You have Karnak, who's just an asshole, who we'll get into more detail later.
Oh
who-
man, yeah.
And we already talked about Medusa. We have Crystal, who's Medusa's sister, who's just like flighty blonde and nothing else, kind of. Her dog Lockjaw, who is the whole CGI budget, and
most people, even if they hate Inhumans, they'll admit that Lockjaw is the only likable thing in either the comics or the TV
and he's
show.
just like a goofy dog who teleports.
Yeah.
And we have Ramsey, who wait,
No,
his name's not Ramsey. It's Ramsey from Game of Thrones.
It's
but
Maximus.
It's Maximus,
Yeah.
and he is Black Bolt's brother. And Maximus wants to go to Earth because he was born without the Inhuman gene or whatever, so he's just a regular dude. And he
basically you roll a lottery, you roll a dice, and
Yeah.
if you can have powers, or you can have shitty powers, or you can have no powers. And if you have good powers, you become you get a role in society based on that. If you have shitty powers or no powers, you go to work in slave mines.
Yeah, and I want to later on in a little bit when we get to that scene, it's so ridiculous.
When you're describing it to me, I'm just sitting there thinking, it's like, how is any of this greenlit? Like, how did not, within the logic of this universe, how did not one person be like, this is kind of unfair, isn't it?
You know, if this was our other podcast, I would start yelling at Sly here about, isn't this your communist utopia? To each according to his ability, like Marx said. You know, if you get digging powers, get to the fucking mines.
So yeah,
Anyway.
Maximus is supposed to be the villain, but I think he's right pretty much every step of the way. But he wants to go to Earth. And basically, like, for some reason, he says they have this small amount of space on the moon, so therefore they have to have slaves.
I don't think it's space. I think it's resources.
Yeah, resources. Because Moon has very few resources. Surprise, surprise.
Either way, I don't get why that... He says, like, there's so few resources, that's why you have to be slaves, people. Which
No,
doesn't
because
really
there's so
make
few
sense to
resources
me.
that they have to make sure everyone is like why I say we should have a communist society, because one day Earth is gonna be fucking a crater, and you need to make sure if the people, everyone that doesn't die, you have to have everyone doing specific roles to make sure.
Not everyone. Not the royal family.
Not the royal family. That's why it's bullshit. Because you have,
Yeah.
you
Well,
have
they're figureheads to make the people feel better.
Yeah, they do a very good job. So yeah, he wants to go to Earth, and that's like the kind of crutch of the whole plot.
And that he didn't get powers too. So he's like, he talks to the other people who didn't get powers, and he's like, I feel your pain. Like, one day we'll be on Earth where we belong.
I also think that he is the best actor in this whole show
yeah.
by
Yeah,
like a
well, definitely.
lot.
So we get a setup. We set up the royal family through this thing called the Terrigen ceremony, where you basically, once you hit a certain age, they put you in a phone booth.
Okay, even this, the way they handle exposition is so dumb. You have a priest going through all of like the ceremony, and instead of having him explain what's happening, they cut to Karnak, who's like, "Can you believe they put them in this phone booth and gassed them?" And they're like, "Who's he talking to? He's talking to other Inhumans who did this. Who
know,
Why is
who know the ceremony.
Especially because the priest is one of the only people who can do this kind of thing. Like, I was just thinking back to the over the summer, Darryl was officiating our wedding. Me and Ryan and Sly got married, and that's one of the only times you can actually say this is the reason for marriage. Like, this is what people, this is when a priest can exposit this stuff, because that's part of, like, this is one of the only acceptable times in fiction you can do that.
Yeah, instead of having like a married couple being like, "Can you believe that we like exchange vows and rings?"
And they have Karnak talk over the priest. It makes no sense.
No sense.
They have two kids. One becomes a butterfly. One that probably has no powers and has a seizure. So everyone's like, "Oh, off to mines you go. Fuck you, kid."
He brings them in front of the slaves, and he's like, he didn't get any gift, and they literally yell, "To the mines with him!"
Yeah. So we find out that some people are really unhappy with the society. Ramsey goes over to him and he's like, I feel your I feel you, bro.
So the power that this guy got is Maximus touches him. Should we just call him Ramsey?
No one realizes this though. No one realizes that he has power. But
Yeah.
yes, Ramsey Bolton touches him and he has a seizure, and the kid's like, I saw snakes binding you against the wall, and you're like, oh, Medusa's hair probably, because I'm not a fucking idiot. But no one in the show picks up, and they're like, he must just be having a weird hallucination right after.
No one picks up that Ramsey's obviously evil, by the way, too. Like he's like obviously planning against them, and everyone's
No,
like,
people
"Oh."
do pick up. People
I know,
do
but
it.
like not enough to actually fucking arrest him beforehand.
Well, he's part of royalty.
We get also some exposition on Karnak, the guy you guys said was an asshole. His scene that sets up his character. He talks to a girl and he goes 2.5 days, and she's like, she's a servant, like pouring his wine or something, and he's like, after the first day, I'd think you're beautiful. Second day, I wouldn't be able to fucking stand you anymore.
Because I would remember you're a servant.
Yeah, and then,
he's also like, I'd be like annoyed that you like chew with your mouth open.
And then by 2.5 days, I would be wanting to kill myself or kill you.
They reveal later on that he has like probability powers and he can see like all probabilities before he acts them out.
Yeah, except not. How do I not fall?
They literally don't explain that the entire show.
So his powers in the comics is he's supposed to see the weakness in things. So like he can look at someone and know where their weak
Is it
point
weakness or probability? What is his
No, see,
power?
They changed it for the show. The show, I actually really like Comic Karnak as like an asshole character. In the comics, he never takes the mist. He's like a monk character, except when he became enlightened, instead of becoming like I'm in the one of everything, he's just like, wow, I can see the weakness in everything. I can see the weakness in that rock, and I can break that rock easily. But I can see the weakness in every ideology. I see weaknesses in humanity. So all of humanity is garbage. We're a bunch of meat sacks.
All sides are just as bad.
Yeah, but that makes him. I really like. He's like a really good, like a really asshole kind of way because.
So you would say he works better as a foil than a main character.
Yeah.
So, but in the show, they make him like. At first, you think he has like Prince of Persia powers.
No, but that's cool. No, probability powers are cool. It's just that that's not what he has. I think. Or
Yeah.
is it?
I don't know
Is it?
what he has. At one point, a compass appears out of the sky and points him in the direction he needs to go.
The reason why he's interesting in comics is because he didn't take the mists. He views the mists as cheating because basically the only way you can not be a sack of meat floating through space on a rock is through self-discipline and working hard. And basically, when you take the mist and like I have superpowers, you're special just by your birth, and no one should be special by their birth according to Karnak. And that
is not clear here at all.
I know, that's what I'm saying. The show changed it. The show made it actually less interesting when if you actually made it so other Inhumans actually sided with Ramses and there's like infighting with the Inhumans instead of just this evil good divide like they do in the show. That would have been way more interesting.
So this guy, he's like, oh, he's an asshole. And then I like the notes here. There's a guy with projector eyes. They look like bug hives. And he's like, look, well, they pull him in and they're like, Ramsey says Triton was killed on Earth. Here's the footage. And then a guy with projector eyes is like, eh. And just,
I like that they have it. That he looks, for some reason, he looks across the table just so they can do the cool effect of like, a projector going across people.
Oh yeah, really cool special effect. I have a projector in my classroom that I can just project on people.
I'd like to think they treat Inhumans with practical powers like the Flintstones do their appliances.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it
what
seems
else
like what
is
it
this guy
is.
gonna do?
And I would love to see this Bug Eyes guy be like, it's a living.
Yeah. You guys want to watch Titanic after?
Also, like, can he see like what he's projecting? It really sounds like really terrible existence.
Also, he can show footage of Earth whenever he wants, but spoilers, when they get to Earth, they don't understand Earth culture at all.
And also,
Yeah.
he sees what we saw as viewers, but he doesn't know what happened to Triton after. I'm assuming he's still alive because they cast the actor and they spent 5 hours putting on makeup. I'm assuming this is not his only appearance.
I don't know, man.
So anyway, Ramsey's like, you shouldn't have sent Triton on Earth. Earth people are evil. We should go kill him. And they're like, well, you're a human too, you piece of shit. Like Karnak says that, and he's like, really racist. Like, and he's like, well, I'm an Inhuman because I'm born here. So to stop being racist. And they're like,
and they mentioned that Inhumans are starting to pop up on Earth, and those are their descendants. So they have to go and bring them to the moon.
Right.
It's not just that, like, the thing I was always confused about is, like, Ramses, it says, like, the Earth is rightfully theirs, but they never explain how the Inhumans got to the moon and where, like, they were originally from Earth, and the whole time I'm like, are you gonna explain, like, what level of technology do you guys have here?
They never
And
explained
also, do like the humans know that you guys left Earth? Like the
They
humans
must have if they were around there and somehow
Can
got
they
off.
only travel back and forth from Earth because they happen to have a teleporting dog? Like,
They have a teleporting mouth wall.
They have-
guy.
oh, that's right.
They have stone butthole man. So okay, so hold on, we gotta keep going. Medusa has a flashback for some reason because she's like, oh, the burden of leadership actually.
Because Black Bolt goes into his like isolation chamber,
And so she has a flashback, which is it's just her being like, "Hey, I'm Medusa. I'm not afraid of you. I know everyone else is, or something." And
with like a little boy in Black Bolt's
Just
costume.
such wouldn't like the important thing with a lot of these shows, like if you have a visual medium, you do a lot of showing and not telling. The fact that she's walking in there and he's all alone already says like she's like he's in here for some reason. She's not afraid. But when you're like you did something bad, but I'm here to support you because I like you as a person, and we're gonna get together later.
Immediately, Ramsey, like you're like, I was thinking like he's gonna set up to wanting to coup later in the show, but immediately he's like, I'm gonna coup now, and I'm also gonna try and fuck.
Now.
I'm gonna try and fuck the queen. So he goes to Medusa and he's like, "Did you ever think it would be cool if you didn't marry Black Bolt?" And she's like, "I don't know." And he's like, what if we fucked instead?
Yeah.
I have to say, this is the one line of dialogue that I love in this whole show, where he's like, "You could be my queen," and she's like, "I'm already your queen," and puts him in his place. I'm like, that's a pretty cool line.
Yeah.
I guess it just seems like they're trying to be like Game of Thrones here a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they went
absolutely.
full Game of Thrones, like I said, if they were like those are divided in the political family or something like that, that would have been interesting. But no, it's just Ramses gets like these
I like how you went
characters.
from Maximus to Ramsey to Ramses, the like pharaoh.
But whatever, they made it so like it's such simplistic. It's like Game of Thrones if you're like 5 years old.
Oh, if you're a fucking idiot, yeah. Which the show already is. So if you're too fucking stupid for that show, then come to Inhumans. You're like fucking child. So then we have Ramsey meeting with. He's like, I'm gonna coup now. He meets with the head of the genetic overlords or whatever Darryl said. Like no, the genetic council.
The guy looks, again, Game of Thrones. He's just Littlefinger. He looks exactly like Littlefinger.
And he's like, hey, want to coup with me? Like, I need your guys' support. Which I guess this makes sense. You do go to the power players first, but like not secretly. He's like, I'm gonna meet with the head of the council in the royal garden and be like, hey, want to overthrow the king?
They only have so many sets, Phil. Like they can't afford another
Yeah.
fucking set.
True. And then he's like, I don't want to do that. Also, it's treason.
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
then
tell
he's
my-
like, I have to go tell them I'm sorry.
yeah. And he's like, also guard arrest Ramsey. And he's like, guard kill little
God, this is such a shitty version of season 1 of Game of Thrones.
yeah, so whatever. Then we don't know the coup's
So
happening
this
yet.
is when we meet Ramsey's lieutenant, who's this woman Inhuman that just kills the guy and like leaves his bloody dead body on the floor. I don't know what they do about that.
Also,
like, they don't hide it.
one of the really things I hate about doing the coup in season 1 is pretty ballsy, and I think you could pull it off. But what the big mistake they make here is they set up a scenario where Ramsey or Maximus is able to coup so easily because he has the entire royal military on his side, but they don't set up any kind of reason that would be the case. Like,
Because I would assume the military are part of the elite.
usually they're loyal to the king, and if you are somehow in between the king and the military, like, you have a fucking important job. Like, you must be a general or something. Instead, Gorgon, who is the head of the royal guard, has no fucking clue this could be a possibility. He is blindsided.
He seems pretty dumb.
Yeah, he is blindsided by
Also,
the fact.
we didn't mention Gorgon's powers. He just has like goat legs. That's it.
Well, he stomps real hard.
He has really hard, strong goat legs. So Gorgon has no idea. The royal family is blindsided by this. Somehow Ramsey, who's just a human guy, has such power over the military that he doesn't even have to like kill half the military to like take over, like, which often happens in real coups. Like, you have to find who's really loyal to you. Nope, the entire royal guard is loyal to him. He says, "Gotta go coup now," and they're like, "Okay, we got this." On Earth, Gorgon is looking for Triton.
He's just hanging out with surfboard guys the whole time.
Not yet,
They're
not
like,
yet.
Hey, man.
Now, when the coup starts, you have this great scene where the military guys who were hunting Triton in the beginning, turns out they were working for Ramsey, and he's like, "Take or kill Gorgon." And they walk up to Goatman, Gorgon, and they say like hello or whatever.
They all have like assault rifles.
Yeah, and they say hello to him, and they give him the time to stand up and be like,
They don't say anything, but they take so long getting the weapons ready, and he's like, "I can smell you upwind, you piece of shit."
yeah, you stupid assholes. And they let him stand up, and then he's like, he has the time to stomp the ground before getting shot. Whatever. It's like,
And then they like run up and try to hit him with their guns after they fall over.
It's actually one of the worst action scenes I've ever seen. Like, it's like it's we can talk about how a lot of shows do this, where it's like the guys run up one at a time, but like, it's so apparent in this, especially because when you give them time to literally do one-liners, it's like, I don't know. I see that in comics, and I complain about it, but it's more jarring.
I
in TV.
actually do have a defense for this that I think is pretty interesting. Have you tried
The
watching
sweet soundtrack?
No, have you tried watching it in IMAX?
True. Maybe in IMAX it saves it.
I doubt
And then
it.
the rest of the coup is happening on the moon.
So yeah,
and
parallel to this, we're also getting cuts of Ramsey's forces trying to beat Karnak, and this is when we see those like the slow down.
yeah, and this
compass
actually,
thing.
I thought this. He punches all these guys who are shooting at him too, and I'm like, what the fuck? But this is actually, I think, one of the cooler action scenes where he's fighting these guys, he gets shot, and then you see like a projection of himself analyzing every possible angle he can attack from.
But
and
he
he's
literally
like,
he gets shot and he literally does the Prince of Persia thing when you die, and he goes, no, that's not what happened.
yeah, he's like that route doesn't work. Let's try it this way. So this is.
I agree with Phil that this is the probability powers are cool in concept. Problem is when in second episode. They already revealed that.
Hold on, don't spoil the
I'm not gonna
second
spoil it.
episode.
I'm not gonna fucking spoil it. I want to point out how cheap this fucking show is. It's just any cool concept. They already back on it. They revealed in episode 2 that his powers aren't working anymore. So you have one cool power and now he's gone. Good shit, job.
Also, he couldn't probability see the way to not have his power stop working.
But what is that his power in the show? Because it almost makes it seem like it's time travel. Like they didn't make it seem clear enough.
No, I think it's supposed to be a super analysis of every situation.
But it's definitely not clear.
Kind of like computer brain and fucking whatever we read.
They never actually say what it is, and it's not in the most clear way. They depict it as if it's Persia time travel.
Also, during this whole scene, there's this very Darryl. How would you describe the music?
Oh, the music. It's like a cool modern, like if you were to pitch it to an executive, a cool modern edgy version of Paint It Black.
No, this is Break On Through to the Other Side first.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like it's like someone took Break On Through and put sunglasses on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also tried to have a 25-year-old band cover it.
Yeah.
That's happening during both of these fight scenes. Eventually, the Lockjaw is basically going around teleporting people out. So Karnak, I think, gets teleported to Earth. Yeah. Lockjaw's the dog, if you don't remember.
And Lockjaw's a dumb dog, so he teleports everyone randomly. So another cost-saving measure. Like, if you're a fan of the Inhumans, I don't know why you would want to be. Like, you should kill yourself right now. But if you were a fan of the Inhumans, like, you would want to see the royal family together. But now, because the show is probably so cheap that they can't afford to have these actors film together too often, after the first episode, they're separated.
Or they think it's way cooler to try and be like Game of Thrones. They're like, let's split all of our main characters up.
But I have a feeling that it's because the show is so cheap in every aspect. I have a feeling they're like, it's way too much money to have all the actors on set every day.
No, they saw how much everybody loved season 4 of Arrested Development. They wanted to do just like that.
Yeah.
That's a good season. Fuck you.
I like it too, but people don't.
Yeah.
So Lockjaw gets everybody out but Crystal. And the one thing I want to point out about Crystal is her hair has this black pattern on it. It really looks like someone just spray painted her.
No, they definitely did. They just spray painted it. And also, it's also extra stupid because I was actually like, am I misremembering it? Because I always thought it was a hairband in the comics.
So did I.
It is. I read the first comic. In the original comic, she does not have her hair. She has her dressed in human clothes. She does not have that pattern on her head. It was a headband. The editors fucked it up. Fuck you, editors. The show creators. What the fuck?
So they go to take the King and Queen too, and they go to Medusa. And I thought her hair, is it just like hair?
It's a wig.
No, but I mean,
yeah, it's a wig fill.
No, what I mean is, no,
hair
what I
can't
mean
do
is,
that in real life.
Does her hair like?
So she can control her long hair.
But is it like stronger than regular hair or no?
I think it is stronger than regular hair because it has a lot. The show doesn't go into it because the show really wants to make sure her head's shaved off as soon as possible. Spoilers: Ramsey shaves off her head, but in the comics they have a lot of things where. Like, if you shave it, even if you shave it off, because this happens in the comics, too. So one guy's like, oh, I got you, I shaved off your hair. And then she made her hair rise up and just choked the motherfucker afterwards, because she still has control over it after it's separated from her. It's like its own sentient thing. But, like, in the show, they were so desperate. We can't have this fucking wig and CGI hair on her. We have to get rid of it ASAP. So the hair's gone, and any power it had is gone. It's just dead. It's just,
yeah, they grab her right away and shave her head.
That Ramsey comes up to her and he's like, we have to get rid of your hair, and he just holds up like a normal razor like someone brought from home for the set.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing that I do want to say about this scene though is she fights a bunch of guys and Paint It Black is playing, and it's weird. But then when she gets like taken down because a guy just like pops up behind her and tases her.
Yeah.
And Ramsey is like, he says like, are you sure, like, we need to overthrow the society? The society's really shitty. And she's like, no, I'll never side with you. And like he's like, I really don't want to have to do this. And then he like takes out the Dollar Shave razor and he goes up to her, and the actor actually has like a lot of regret in his face. Like, he's doing this because she is a threat while her hair is there. And I actually was like, he's doing such a good job with such shit in front
No,
of him.
you were reading the scene wrong. It's because he was realizing how stupid this is and that his name is attached to it.
This is my career. This is Ramsey Bolton. Rolling Bevel was like, this is what I did after Game of Thrones. This is my big career breakthrough.
Either way, I thought that he was impactful in the scene.
They go to arrest Black Bolt, and Ramsey goes in with 3 guys to arrest a guy who, if you know the Inhumans, which his brother should know him, can kill people by talking. And he's like, Black Bolt, are you gonna talk and kill me like you killed our parents? And then we flashback, and it's like him as a kid, and like any teenager does, he's yelling at his parents, but when you yell at your parents and you're Black Bolt, you splatter them against the wall.
Also, he doesn't
looks so
yell.
weird.
The one thing he does is he looks up at them and asks, why? And then they're just dead.
There's just dust on the wall. But it's like, the flashback, it seems more like a Family Guy gag. Because Ramsey's like, you killed our parents. And then here's 4 seconds of him going, why? And then his parents are dead. And then it cuts back. Like, what?
I can actually imagine, like, on the script, like, we mentioned a lot of problems with the script, even, like, aside from the budget and the cheapness of the show. But even I can imagine this moment, like, scripted, and the moment where Medusa walks in him isolated by himself. Like, I can imagine those scenes being powerful on the page. But the show, the way it cuts to him and the way it depicts him, if it had any power on the page, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
The way they film it.
And then it ends with Lockjaw. He's about to yell at Ramsey, it looks like. And
I always feel like that's weird how you have to convey that emotion, because he has to, like, breathe in and kind of open his mouth, and then they cut to Ramsey and they all start, like, pointing their gun. And it's like, why would it take so long for Black Bolt
to just say something?
Just say why. No, cool.
I really wanted at this point, I turned to Joe and I saw Lockjaw teleport him, and I was really hoping that Lockjaw would teleport Black Bolt right in front of the other Inhumans as he yells and kills everybody.
And then so he ends up in the middle of a city street, and the episode ends, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be fucking Thor and Wonder Woman, where it's like, I'm an out-of-touch fantasy character in a human society
Except Thor and Wonder Woman were written by really talented directors, they're directed by really talented directors, had really talented writers, and this is ABC channel schlock that was rushed to production by
Also,
Marvel.
Thor and Wonder Woman have an excuse to not know human society. The Inhumans don't.
Yeah, they have razors.
This is why I had trouble with Thor when I first heard it being pitched, because this is if you watch like Beastmaster 2, Masters of the Universe live action movie, they always do this when they don't have the budget to actually have an actual sci-fi premise. So they just have the sci-fi characters show up on Earth and they're like, what's all this wacky shit? And so like it's always terrible. Like it only works with Thor and Wonder Woman because they act, like I said, they were made by actual competent people.
Yeah.
So episode 2 gives us a last time on Inhumans, and it's just the first episode.
Now these were, one thing that I want to point out, these were aired together.
And in the film and in the IMAX are aired as one film.
Yeah, and also when they aired on TV, they were together. Like, just, not that it really matters, but like they are supposed to be one unit.
I think the fact that they were presented as a film to hype up people in IMAX is why we're reviewing it, because this is the package that's supposed to get you hyped for Inhumans coming out.
And when it opens with Medusa waking up on Earth, we also get a flashback to her hair being shaved, despite that we just saw it in the last time on Inhumans. Like, it was crazy that you were flashing back to a flashback which I just watched, and all the audiences would have just seen.
Yeah.
So Gorgon goes to the ocean where Triton disappeared, and he goes like, Triton!
It's because when Gorgon's walking, they show him with the hooves, and then at one point it looks like he just has shoes on and he's walking on his tiptoes.
Yeah.
Like, it's
but he goes to the water, and turns out, spoilers, goat legs can't help you swim, and he starts drowning, but then Hula surfers save him.
It's so weird. He's like, I gotta go look for Triton in the water. So he goes to the water, he's like, I guess I'm...
Oh, fuck, I can't swim!
Drowning. What is this?
And then surfer dudes...
Surfer dudes save him, and they're like, what are you? And he's like, I'm an Inhuman. And they're like, where are you from, man? And he looks up in space, he's like, I'm from the moon.
And later on, he eventually details, I'm from a secret society. He tells me everything about human society to these fucking surfer dudes.
And these surfer dudes are like totally fine with this too. They're like, cool, dude, sounds pretty cool. And they're like, let's just get this whole Gorgon thing out of the way now.
And they're supposed to stay secret.
And not only does he say that, but then later on, when he's basically calling in like enemies to come fight him, he tells the surfer dudes, he's like, yo, you guys want to probably leave because like Inhumans are gonna come fight me, and he's like, they're like, whatever, man, like what's a little trouble? Isn't that fun? And it's like, what the?
They're
fuck
like,
are
I don't got anywhere else to be today.
It's like such like you would see this in like a shitty '90s comic.
Yeah.
He's the head of the royal guard, and he's telling secrets to the first people he walks into.
He also apparently couldn't tell that every single security officer was willing to betray the royal family on like the drop of a dime.
He's the shittiest security guard.
I mean,
Yeah.
actually, it's pretty consistent.
So
He's also the one that fucking got his hoof taken the picture of by the moon people. So that's Gorgon's whole plot in this episode, so we
yeah,
don't
so
have
that's
to
it.
mention him
We're
anymore.
done with him. We go to Black Bolt, who's in the middle of the city street in Honolulu, in the middle of traffic with him and Lockjaw just standing there. People are swerving, crashing their cars because a giant dog. I don't know if we said Lockjaw is not just a dog that can teleport. He's like
Yeah, we didn't mention
he's like a rhinoceros-sized dog.
Yeah.
And so basically people come and start taking photos on their phones. Black Bolt grabs some lady's phone and just like walks away with it. Cops are like, what the fuck? And they don't chase him really though. He just walks away.
I know he doesn't take the phone. He just drops it on the ground, which I find weird because they act like, "Hey, why did I run away from the scene of crime? Like, what crime happened? He interrupted traffic for a second. Like,
Yeah.
like they act like this. Later on, the police, the spoilers, the police arrest him, and they're like, "That was the guy from later on to earlier today. The guy who interrupted that traffic jam. Like, that's not a fucking crime to just walk."
I
in the
feel like
street.
maybe-
you get in trouble if
Yeah, and also they would probably think,
jaywalking.
no, they would think something's wrong with the guy who's like wandering around in the middle of traffic for 10
standing in
minutes.
the middle of traffic.
But I don't know. I just find it weird that they're like, "Oh, why is he running away from the scene of crime?" Like one guy's yelling at him, "Like, where are you going? You're walking away from the scene of crime, you piece of shit! Cops arrest him!" Like, what?
All right, anyway,
Law and order.
So Lockjaw comes back to save Crystal here, the sister, and obviously gets zapped immediately by the guy who tased. He has tase powers. The guy who tased Medusa and tases Lockjaw.
Later on, during this whole thing, Ramsey's like, we've taken Lockjaw somewhere safe, and like she's like, where is he? And he's like, you'll never know. And then at the end of the episode, they cut to Lockjaw asleep in that isolation chamber. They didn't take him anywhere. They just left him on the floor.
Yeah, and there's no guards or anything. So Medusa and Black Bolt are on Earth, and they have these wristbands that they can, like Fitbits, that they can talk to each other through. And Medusa's like, Black Bolt, are you there? Please talk to me.
She
I know
joins
you
like a
can't talk.
hippie tour group, and she's just on a bus.
It's because she's like she's near them, and she's like, I'm gonna go to this bus. And Black Bolt talks to her by putting the wristband on his heartbeat, and she's like, I know you're safe. I think that couldn't be anyone else's heartbeat.
Well, when she first calls him, she's like, Black Bolt, are you there? Say something.
Yeah, I just want to hear.
doesn't know
Kill everyone around you, please.
No, she would. She wanted talking to the mic. She wanted to see the blast through the sky. It's like, I'll go there.
Fine.
Like a flare.
So Karnak is also somewhere else, and remember his power is super analysis, and he falls off a mountain.
But like I said, he explains like later on he tries to use his powers again after flying up the mountain, and it's like starts getting wonky. And he says, "What's wrong with me?" And
What's
he's-
crazy is that he plays out scenarios where he's getting like in the middle of a fight. He can play out which scenarios would have him get shot and which ones won't. But here he's like, he can't think which way would make me fall off the mountain and which way
It's
would
probably,
make
it's
me
probably one of
not.
those things where once he loses powers, he's like an idiot.
No, but he didn't lose them yet.
But
didn't lose them
he
yet.
loses them because he falls off the mountain.
Yeah.
Was it that because I assumed it was because he's on Earth, and now that he's on Earth, now they have an excuse to say,
Guess
"Oh, his
what?
powers don't work here."
No one knows
No.
because the show doesn't
No.
explain anything.
He hits his head, and then he's like, I can't use my powers
But it'll
now.
make more sense if it's they don't. We haven't watched. I'm not gonna watch any more of this shit. But like just based on what we saw, I assumed it was because he's on Earth and they're trying to find.
Oh,
Who
I
knows?
took it because he fell off. Because
But he wouldn't have fallen off because he has fucking.
But
He has
hold on,
probability
Sly, when he
powers.
sees
You have to have a
the
plot hole
broken-
either way. You have to have a plot hole that his probability powers shut
No,
off. for
listen.
one
When he
instance before his
sees the
head-
broken compass thing, he touches the cut on his head
Yeah, but how do you bump his head if he has probability
because he
powers?
fell off the mountain.
I know, but he wouldn't fall off the mountain if he had probabilities. So there's a plot hole either way. Either way, this is dumb.
Yeah,
Why would he let a coup happen if he... Whatever. Probability powers always get kind of stupid.
Like, couldn't you look at Ramsey and be like, "You're probably gonna"?
He did say that.
But either way,
He did-
we're pointing out his plot
yeah,
holes.
he
Like,
did,
why
he
didn't he
did.
probability that there's a coup? Why didn't he probability that he's going to lose his powers? This is why
Anyway.
he made him lose his powers right away. Because like,
Okay.
this is too hard to write.
That's
Fuck
it.
this
All
shit.
Karnak does in this episode is fall off a mountain.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
he falls in the mountain. Okay.
No, but it's
We're
worth
back-
pointing out because the show was like, I can't write this anymore. It's too hard to write.
Yeah.
He bumps his head. His powers are gone.
Immediately after the first kind of shitty fight, they're just like, he's done.
Which it would make more sense if Lockjaw teleported him away and accidentally teleported him off a mountain instead.
That would be so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't predict that bitch.
Yeah.
So Ramsey's on the moon trying to convince Crystal this whole episode, hey, I'm not a bad guy. By the way, some exposition here. Remember, your parents were killed by the royal family in the past for trying to overthrow the government, so you really shouldn't be such a fucking royalist if your parents were murdered by royals. So, hey, whatever, maybe you should join me. And she's like, you fucking human scum. Like, you're not even genetically superior like me. And he's like, that's pretty racist.
Yeah, I love that she's supposed to be on the side of the good guys, and she says to him point blank, she's like, you're just a human. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm just a human.
So we go back to the moon base, the moon discovery base, the NASA base, that little warehouse, and they're like, and the lead scientist, who's supposed to be brilliant, is like, I'm pretty sure I see people teleporting off the moon onto the same spot in Honolulu in Hawaii.
Yeah, she's like, we have data to confirm this.
Yeah, and in this world where, again, alien invasions have happened, Doctor Strange exists, the X-Men exist, I assume, and he's like, you're crazy.
Well, they don't, because it's not Marvel.
Yeah, not Marvel.
Yeah, they don't have the rights. But it's been an alien invasion. Like, Avengers 1 happened.
Yeah, so, and Thor teleports from other planets, and he's like, that's impossible. You're off this case, and go on a vacation.
You're off the case.
Yeah,
and
whatever.
You're bad.
And he's like, you should go on vacation or something. And she's like, I think I will. And he's like, I don't get the subtext. And like, he's a moron. So, speaking of subtext, when Ramsey gets choked by Medusa in the first episode, he finally gets it after falling on the ground. And he's like, snakes tying me up. That kid must be an oracle or whatever.
They do the other thing when the genetic head guy dies, because he tells him it's like, you will see someone resting in a river of red, and then the guy dies and his blood spills out and he's like, oh, he's resting now. I'm like,
I think the power really fucking pointless, because like
not only that, but the way they exposit that the genetic head guy was gonna die is the genetic head guy comes to the meeting and he's like, I just talked to that oracle kid who has no powers. And he's like, the kid with no powers told me I'd be resting in a river of red.
But the problems are so vague that they don't mean anything. Like, how is this useful in any way, shape, or form?
No, it's fucking dumb. But the next oracle is people are going to try to overthrow you, Ramsey. They are wearing silver robes like the genetic heads. Like, anyway, whatever. Ramsey's chief, like, who killed the genetic head guy, the coup leader.
She's basically she's
the
like
actual
the
head of
lieutenant
security.
From Deadpool. She's almost the exact same character. She's like this tough woman who doesn't say anything.
She seems to actually be the head of the royal guard, not Gorgon.
Yeah.
And she basically goes to bring food to Crystal, and they have a little altercation. She drops her little phone Fitbit on the ground, and Crystal uses it to call Medusa. And she's like, "Hey, where are you guys?"
And Medusa's like, obviously she's tracking this phone call, and Crystal's like, "Oh shit, I didn't even think about that." And then Medusa doesn't hang up, but keeps talking to her.
Well, you're already compromised.
Assuming you can track it instantly.
Also, she uses as a bait to make the woman think she's on the bus.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So we have more other shitty scenes I'm gonna skip. So Ramsey's like, I need you, Lieutenant Lady, to go take the royal family from Earth. And he's like,
only you, because we don't have the budget for more than one actor
yeah.
scenes.
And he's like, whatever you need. And she's like, just me. And he's like, sounds good. Go take Black Bolt and Medusa and Karnak and Gorgon. Go get them all yourself. And she has to go to this stone, this like wall that can talk. And it's like, hey, what are you doing there? It's like out of like a kid's book. And she's like,
you mean a comic book?
He's in the wall.
He is the wall.
He's just a face in the wall.
And she's like, take me to Earth. And he's like, no, I don't like you.
No,
he
says, no, it hurts.
Also, imagine how shitty it must be to a human. Like, you have like a 50%, like a 20% chance you're gonna have a good power, 20% chance to have a shitty, awful power like projector guy or this guy, 20% chance you're gonna have a completely useless power that makes you in mines anyway, or you're gonna be human to be in the mines anyway. So you have like a 20% chance not to live in hell.
Wait, a man?
I also have a question. This guy was a regular looking dude, and he went into a phone booth. Did he come out did they build a wall around
He's like,
him?
now I'm a teleporting wall.
How did he come out? Was he made out of bricks? So they were like, I guess you're part of the foundation now?
I imagine it was like the thing in the Fantastic movie where he was rock and he slowly reformed his own body.
So they built built a house on top of him.
Stay there. We'll build around you.
And he's like, I don't want to teleport you. And this is, by the way, this seems to be their primary method of teleportation is making this rock wall teleport them. And she's like, I'll kill your whole family and feed them to you if you don't teleport me. And he's like, oh. And so he opens his butthole. And then, like, she goes in. And she's like, don't teleport me somewhere weird. And he teleports her into, halfway into, a stone building.
She says, don't teleport me somewhere weird from inside his butthole. This is normal for me. Don't go weird.
And she ends up in, he teleports her inside stone. And I'm
it's like
wouldn't
it's
she
like
die?
clipping in a video game. You just clip inside a object.
But somehow she's able to just shoot her way out, and I guess she wasn't in it that. I don't understand this. This is supposed to be a gag scene, from Family Guy again. But she again, spoilers. She's about to get fucking stabbed to death. This is not really that campy of a show. So anyway, Ramsey goes back to, like I said, the Vision, the Oracle kid, and he's like, "Tell me another power." And again, this is very specific. He's like, people are trying to kill you. They are wearing silver robes, just like the Genetic Council. And so Ramsey does a show of force, and he's like, I'll kill all of you. Whatever.
The way he threatens them is really weird, because he's just like, oh, and the other guy suddenly went missing, but I remember his last words were a guttural gurgling sound, and that was it. Then he just leaves.
Is that a joke?
It's a weird way of threatening. It shows the weakness in the writers and not the actor.
Yeah. Especially because he's trying, I think, to have a forceful rule, but also to get the power players on his side. But when he's like, I also killed your boss, it's like,
there's a cooler way to do that than just the sounds he made when he died.
Yeah. He should have flayed him.
Also,
boss,
also the great room that they're all meeting in. It's a wall that goes up to about chest height. Then there's there's a gap.
What is this?
For a foot, and then it goes up to the ceiling. So it's perfect for putting guns through. This room is designed to have a ring of guards just kill everyone inside. And yes.
Also, at this point, it goes. The scene that's juxtaposed next to this is a Black Bolt fashion montage.
Oh yeah, the Black Bolt scenes are all it really did remind me of Thor, where he's like, I can't figure out Earth, and he walks around seeing people who dress like normal humans, and he goes into a fashion shop, and she's like, oh, you don't speak English? All right, let's try on some clothes. And he's
Which is also stupid because even if he's a fucking from another planet, you understand his fucking currency and resource allocation, but he takes for the alpha and he walks out.
He doesn't realize people have to pay for things.
I think he's probably I'm king.
Yeah, he's royalty.
But no one knows you're fucking royalty. You landed on this fucking planet, you're just gonna be like, I'm gonna take all your shit.
Or he just thought I might as well just walk out of here. I don't care. It's hard to explain his reasoning when he can't talk.
And it's not like it's fucking this is not a reason why I don't know if the script made it more colorful, but his costume isn't that fucking weird. It's just a fucking
it's pretty weird.
It's like a I was just if he was.
But he doesn't look like Doctor Strange. He looks more like the
Black X-Men costume.
It's weird enough to make him stand out, I think.
Yeah.
But it's not. But you would just be like, oh, it looks like a guy with punk fashion. I wouldn't be like, look, it's an alien. Oh my god.
And so the cops chase him.
So he just puts on a suit and he just leaves, and security's like, stop, and he breaks security's arm.
And then there's this cop chase. It was such a weird scene too, where the cops try to arrest him. It's supposed to be a tense action scene, but he just basically beats up the cop and handcuffs the cop to his own.
The cops
hands.
also go one at a time.
This is why I actually like Black Bolt and the actor a bit, because it's actually pretty funny because the Black Bolt complies with them, but then when you really he doesn't understand what they're doing, what the handcuffs are.
Oh yeah,
but then
that is
when
actually
you realize what it is, he's just like, oh, what are you doing?
I like to because the cop says get on your knees, and he's just like,
huh?
Yeah,
and
he can't
with
say
his
why.
eyes.
So he does. So then he goes, put your hands in the air, and he doesn't understand any of this procedure.
And then when they go to grab him, that's when he starts breaking their hands. And then basically a bunch of cops, because it's such a weird broken up scene though, because they have a first encounter with the first cop. Mm-hmm. He handcuffs that guy. Then they have a second scene where more cops show up. Cop cars surround him. They all pull guns on him. And basically...
He tases him and he yells and then he blows up a car.
Yeah, when they tase him, he grunts. And that grunt blows up a cop car, and instead of being freaked out about this, the cops are like, you fucking freak. At this point, don't you say, obviously we're not equipped to handle some guy who
especially
can
this is the planet where they think aliens on the moon are fucking stupid, but the guy blows up a car of his mouth. Well,
then
freak.
they get the revenge.
There has to be doesn't there have to be like a task force for dealing with superpower people who show up? Like, isn't there a special agency for this at this point?
Yeah, the fucking Monkey Black Bolt's a good guy, not a fucking supervillain.
Yeah, because he grunts, blows up a cop car, and they're just like, this fucking guy, this freak.
But these cops are also idiots because he destroys this car and they're like, you freak. And then they take him to the precinct and he's just like sitting there for processing. Like, he's not in a cell. He's not in, like, it's just like they're like, hey, it's that guy who held up traffic.
Yeah,
and also he uncuffs himself and then the cops are like, I guess it's okay.
No, he uncuffs himself, and then we have, okay, because they want to keep doing these tense scenes, we have another standoff where every cop in the precinct pulls guns on him, and then they're like, well, he seems like an okay guy. He's
they
complying.
all pull guns on him,
white,
and then they're like, you line up and take a picture, sir.
And he's just like emotes like, I guess that's
And
the
my
way the
favorite
cookie
is
crumbles.
that he lines up to take the picture, and he's sitting there and waiting, and he just takes out his phone, and someone's talking to him, and no one stops him until the conversation ends. Like, no one comes over and goes like, who's talking to you?
And he's just like, I'll give up my phone now. And then basically it's just like Black Bolt in jail, and he's just looking outside. He's like, man, this sucks. Like, it's just such a weird. It's a whole weird arc. Like, I don't understand.
Like I said, like why would you want the Inhumans to be going through this shit? Like, wouldn't you want them to be together? Like, imagine if they had an X-Men TV show. All the X-Men are split up, and like now. Wolverine spends the first 2 episodes in jail. Like, this is a great show. I fucking love this.
So, to end it off...
In the X-Men cartoon of the 90s, doesn't Wolverine spend the first couple episodes locked up in a cell?
No, that's
Beast.
That's
Beast.
Yeah.
That's Beast.
Wolverine spends the first
that was part of the drama of the show that, now Beast is, like, that increases drama. This is just, like, all these wacky shenanigans.
Especially because you're like, he could whisper at the cell wall and just escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets the phone call from Medusa, but this is after Medusa's scene with Ramsey's lady or whatever.
Okay, so Ramsey's lady, her first target is to hunt Medusa, who has no power right now, and she's like, "Huh? There's trackers on a bus." And then Medusa surprises her that she's very poor at like awareness of her surroundings, and they have this really terrible slow-mo fight scene, like worse than anything. Like Heroes had bad fight scenes.
We're running through it because the show's so terrible. I think it's terrible things to list. But her costume looks really terrible, and it looks even worse when she's bald, wearing this purple comic costume, and fighting somebody in a knife fight. Like, it looks like something out of.
I think it looks worse when she's got that obviously terrible wig.
Me too. When she was shaved,
they both look terrible.
I was like, thank God.
It looks terrible because it's like Sinead O'Connor wearing a purple dress and like shanking people. Like,
but is it better than a woman wearing
they're
a
both
purple
terrible.
dress
It's
with
like
this terrible
wig?
wig?
It's like which gun would you rather have to your head? Like, they both look like she should have taken it off after she landed on Earth, because then she could, if she dressed like a normal person, this fight scene would look more gritty. But now it looks like a comic book character.
I don't think there's any salvaging of this fight scene.
There's no, but like it makes it, but you're making it worse for no reason. Like,
so
this purple dress
anyway, they're having a really shitty fight where like they're just kind of punching each other, pushing each other. Like, they do slow-mo while someone gets pushed into a car, like doesn't break the car. I think it's like ugh. And then like it's slow motion, and then it turns out as they're fighting, the lieutenant lady is like really cocky, and she's like, "Oh, you come with me" or whatever. And it turns out that earlier we saw this on the bus. Medusa was watching some guy cut an apple with a knife, somehow snatched his knife, and she just shanks the lady and does, I guess, again. I think they're trying to be like some kind of Game of Thrones thing here. And she's like, as she's stabbing her, she's like, "I am the Queen of Adelan. I will return to save my people, and you are nothing," and let her die on the. And she like lets her die on the back of a truck, and then
she says this while in the parking lot of like a bus company, and she dies in the hood of a fucking like Chevy or something.
And it's crazy that she dies, and it's like, this is the person you send to stop the guy that can see all probabilities and Black Bolt.
And she has. Anyway, so then we go back to Adelan, and Ramsey, you see him giving a speech to the lower class, and he's like, "You guys are going to be out of the mines soon. Yes, we can. We will go to Earth. Yes, we can. We won't need to mine like slaves anymore. Yes, we can."
And the story that he has told everybody is the story that he told was that someone from the royal family was killed, and Black Bolt abandoned them to go to Earth.
No, the genetic guy, I think, is the one. They're like, he was the head of the genetic council was found dead, and the royal family all fled. I don't know what it means.
Also, I have to point out, there's I don't know who wrote this fucking episode, because it starts with Ramsey making an announcement over the loudspeaker that the Genetic Council head is dead, Black Bolt has abandoned us, and I'm gonna assume powers until justice is done. And then he tells his lieutenant, word's getting out. People are starting to find out what's going on. Like, what? You just told everybody.
Yeah, and his plan isn't like I kind of appreciate that they're at least trying to formulate some kind of plan in his mind. He's like, I'm gonna put guards everywhere so they're uneasy, and then I'll come out and be the friendly face that he's like the man of the people to like ease their fears, and then they'll put their faith in me to restore order and everything.
Yeah,
which is like kind of cool, but like again, like you guys pointed out earlier, at this point I'm like, Ramsey's pretty smart, and like I kind of support his position more. So am I supposed to care about the Inhumans? Because I don't.
I'm all on Ramsey's side, pretty much. Aside from all the murder, I'm on Ramsey's side most of this episode.
Yeah, because they're the assholes of the story. They're the fucking slave owners of the story.
The one bad thing that I feel like how they tried to establish him as a villain is he told Crystal, "You wouldn't want anything to happen to your dog, would you?" That's like such an easy way to be like, this guy's a villain if he's gonna hurt animals.
But also, he wants to rape Medusa. So
he didn't. It's not necessarily he wants to rape her. He's just like one of.
But like he's like advancing on her.
He's definitely getting too close to her during that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And then the episode ends, and I actually didn't see this until...
Just one other thing. I think they're having him do cliched bad guy things, like pushing himself on a woman or, like, threatening a dog, but his motivations are not as evil as, like, the music and direction is trying to convince me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know what you mean. Like, ideologically, he's not that bad. It's just, like, he does villain things, so he's a villain.
Yeah.
By the way, I should mention, we were talking about, I don't know who the fucking wrote this episode, it was Scott Buck.
And then it ends with the parking lot where the lady got shanked, and she gets up. She has healing powers, I guess. And,
she has healing power factor.
And she's like, I'm healed, so I guess that's...
And not only that, but she calls in and she's like, oh, I actually do need backup. Someone with no powers killed me.
And also...
Please help.
The idea that, like... Is that going to work against Black Bolt? Can you regenerate from being a splatter on the wall?
Probably not.
And also fucking healing factors again. Like, how fucking unoriginal are you? Especially with Inhumans, a property that's supposed to be like weird out there powers.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's it forever.
Oh, Jesus.
So
I'm done with life. See ya.
Are you going to watch the rest of the season?
I would, only in IMAX. Go see Inhumans episode 1 and 2 in IMAX right now.
Sly?
I would actually watch this show for real if one thing happened. If it was more like the first episode and not like the second episode. Because the first episode, both episodes are terrible. But the problem is, like, the first episode is interesting because they're trying to do this out there fucking concept. They're on the moon. They're this fucking royal family.
But are so stupid, I cannot believe it. Both episodes are terrible. The whole show's terrible. Whether they're on the moon or Earth, it's bad.
No, but it's interesting because they're trying to do a show they don't have the budget for.
But it's not interesting.
It is interesting to me. It's interesting to me to see they don't have the budget. They don't have the capability to make the show, but they're trying. And then the second half of that episode and the second episode entirely, they're like, okay, cut off Medusa's hair, Lockjaw's in custody. Karnak's powers are gone. Like they're like, we have no budget. Get rid of anything that costs any money whatsoever. And now the show is just fucking Thor, even with no writing or budget. I'm like, okay,
it's like Heroes, Game of Thrones, and Thor all were
and Family Guy.
And yeah, we're all much shittier than they actually are. And I think some of those are kind of shitty already. And they just become like this show.
Yeah, they give it to Scott Buck, which is what they did.
But I always find it interesting when the show was overly ambitious with its budget and like it was shitty, but at least I was like, it's interesting to see him try to capture them on the fucking moon and the fucking royal family on this fucking palace.
I don't know.
And not have the budget for it whatsoever. But now they gave up that premise and now they're on Earth, all separated, and it's just fucking Thor again, except now without Chris Hemsworth playing the leads or anything charming happening whatsoever.
Between the costumes, the budget, the script, and the acting, there were times that I was like, am I watching a porn parody of Game of Thrones right now?
Especially that wig on her.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So it's bad. Very bad. Well.
Wait, Phil, you didn't chime in.
Oh, Phil, are you going to watch more of this? You kind of liked it.
If we were doing this as like another episode, like I'd watch some just to talk about how bad it is because I got really into yelling at the show. But I probably I don't think I could actually just sit there and watch it as my whole attention. Maybe if I was like doing anything else at the same time.
Did you watch it with Chrissy?
Yeah.
Did she like it?
No. And actually, that's pretty crazy because she likes most things we watch. I was actually trying to even just pitch it to her. I was like, so the Inhumans are they're like X-Men except gas takes them and they go on a cocoon. She's like,
well, you're not the best person to pitch Inhumans.
Okay, so can you pitch this to me in a cool way?
Well, not the show. This is no.
pitch Inhumans to me in a not stupid way.
He did at the beginning of the episode. We don't need to read
a guy goes why and kills people.
Like if you it's so fucking weird because like I said, they don't have the budget to pull us off. Like if you're going to do an Inhuman show, why would you the moon stuff happened later. Like the original premise of Inhumans was it's a secret group of people hidden among us. Like the original title of the first Inhuman story is called "Among Us Walk the Inhumans." Like it was about there's a secret society of people. Like why would you not keep a super
I know why.
grounded, super low budget?
Because Ike Perlmutter sucks, and Marvel is pushing to just get this property out there to say fuck you to Fox. That's it.
Yeah,
guys,
they wanted to make it.
Can you please free me and our listeners?
Yes. So, I want to mention. I think I mentioned it last time, but I'm going to mention it again. Last week, the Comrade Halloween episode came out. I'm going right into plugs. There's no transition. And Darryl and Sly both have very creepy stories in them. And Darryl, I want to formally and on the air acknowledge that your voice work is fantastic.
Thank you.
And I really, really liked it.
Thanks. It was
and
fun
Ryan
to do.
Healy, Ryan Healy from Tales from the Static also has a story on there, and it's a really, really good episode. So if you like horror, everyone should listen to it. And that and all the other shows are available at comradradio.com. And that's all I have. Do you guys have anything to plug or anything special?
If you want to go to IMAX, they might still be airing. Whatever.
Thank you all for listening. I've had my hair spray painted black.
I've been breaking on through to paint it black.
I've been a stone butthole man.
And I've been that girl from the beginning of the show. Remember her? No, you don't.
Stay in continuity.